All right, so we've talked about graphing linear equations, lines, by finding ordered pairs that are solutions to the equation, plotting those points, and then connecting them, right? But we can also now graph linear equations, lines, by finding and plotting their x-intercept and the y-intercept. If I can figure out where it touches the x-axis and I can figure out where it touches the y-axis, then I can plot those 2 points, I can connect them, and then I know exactly where my line is going to be. So let's look at an equation and figure out what the x-intercept is and what the y-intercept is so that we can use those to graph. So if you remember from before, that the x-intercept, where it touches the x-axis, is going over left or right, but not going up at all or down at all. So we can find the x-intercept if our y value is 0. Then we can solve for x. So if I give you an equation, we can always figure out what the x-intercept is by plugging in 0 for y. That means we can find the y-intercept of any equation by plugging in 0 for x, right? We go over, left or right, nothing, but we go up or down on the y. That's going to be our y-intercept. So instead of being given a picture and finding the x and y-intercept, let's find the x and y-intercept from an equation. So look at this one. Given the equation 2x minus 5y equals 40, can we find the y-intercept? Well, I know it's going to be a line. That looks like standard form, right? ax plus by equals c. Or you could say y equals mx plus b. There's a y and an x in there. Let's figure out where this touches the y-intercept. We can easily figure out where it touches the y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x, right? So let's plug in 0 for x. Let's go left or right, nothing. And let's figure out how much we have to go up or down on the y. Where does it touch the y-axis? 2 times 0 is 0. So I have an equation that says negative 5y equals 40. I can divide both sides by negative 5, and I end up getting y equals negative 8. That means there is an x-intercept. Remember, it's a point, so we should always write our answer as an ordered pair or a point. It crosses the the y-axis at 0, negative 8. All right, now let's add to that a little bit. Let's look at example number 2 and the equation 10x plus 2y equals negative 100. And let's actually graph this line by not finding a whole bunch of different ordered pairs, but let's actually find the x-intercept, the point where it crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept, the point where it crosses the y-axis, and use those 2 points to graph it. So let's find the x-intercept, remember, by plugging in 0 for y, and let's find the y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x. For the x-intercept, 2 times 0 is 0, so I have an equation that says 10x equals negative 100. I can divide both sides by 10, and I end up getting x equals negative 10. So what point, ordered pair, does it cross the x-axis? Well, I know now that it crosses at the point negative 10, 0. Let's find the y-intercept, and then we'll use them to graph. When I plugged in 0 for x, 10 times 0 is 0. So I'm left with the equation 2y equals negative 100. If I divide both sides by 2, I end up getting y equals negative 50. So the point that it touches my y-axis is the point 0, negative 50. All right, now let's go ahead and plot those 2 points so we can figure out what this line looks like. I have the x-intercept at negative 10, 0. So I had a blank graph and I had to figure out what units I wanted to use. I had enough space to go by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, negative 1 through negative 10 on the x. And so I can plot the x-intercept by going left 10 and up 0. My y-intercept was a little bit larger. I had 0, negative 50. So I couldn't go up by ones because my graph wasn't big enough. So I decided to go by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, or go up by 10s and skip some, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That was exactly the right amount for me to be able to go left or right 0, but down to negative 50. So now that I have these 2 dots, I can connect them. Oh gosh, that wasn't a straight line. Let's redo that. With a straight line. Okay, close enough. And now I know exactly what this line is going to look like by just finding the x and the y-intercepts. All right, so to find the x-intercept, you plug in 0 for y. That's right. And to find the y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. If you can do that, you can plot those 2 points and graph any linear equation.